I have somebody with me today who has a very, very, very special title. And the special title has taken him many, many years to achieve. The person I'm talking about is Geoff Whiting. Geoff, welcome to the GDR studios.
Thank you very much. It's interesting to be in a radio studio.
Geoff, you told me it's taken you 50 years to reach the lofty height of Bridge Grandmaster. In less than a minute, please let us know how that came about.
Okay, well, I played my first game of bridge in 1975 when I was in the Air Force up at near Newcastle. And I didn't know anything about bridge at the time until I found out there are rankings you get for playing and playing well. And so you start off sort of at a local master level. And I never bothered too much about it. And I took 12 years off. Work got in the way. And then when I came back, I suddenly thought maybe I could get to that exalted level of Grandmaster. And so I've worked hard for the last 20 years, I guess, travelling around, not only at the club, but also state competitions, national competitions, and we've made an attempt to play internationally when we can, not representing Australia, of course, we're not that.
Both you and I are members of the Bayside Bridge Club, a valued sponsor of GDR. However, playing at the club is only one string to your bow. When you're not playing at the club in Hampton, you and your partner Sally are international bridge teachers on cruise ships, and you've recently returned from a 9-week cruise. Please tell us more.
Okay, well, Sally used to run what is now the Bayside Bridge Club, and we used to take bridge players on holidays playing bridge. It started off just being up at Echuca. We had an acquaintance in Sydney who used to bring people down from Sydney. We used to take people up there. Then it got on to international stuff. We had a couple of weeks in Italy playing bridge every night, of course, as bridge players do. And then the cruise industry changed, and suddenly a lot of very nice ships started coming down to Australia. Previously, we'd only had one every year, a little ship called the Pacific Princess. And a guy in the US said, we'd like some Australians to volunteer to run the bridge on the ship. So we put our hands up, why wouldn't you, to get a cruise. And we're still with that same guy in California, all 30 years later. So that's the way it worked. And of course the cruise industry in Australia's got bigger and bigger. I think it's waning at the moment, but it may come back again.
So on this latest cruise, you started here in Melbourne and you went to...
No, we actually started in Tahiti.
So you flew from Melbourne to Tahiti?
Correct.
Picked up the ship in Tahiti?
Yes.
And then went...
across the Pacific. It's a big ocean, that Pacific. We went up to Hawaii and then across to San Diego, and that was one leg of the cruise. So a lot of people got off in San Diego, a lot more got back on again. And then we went through the Panama Canal, a little bit of South America up to New York, where we got off the ship and spent 2 weeks with some American friends. And then all four of us got back on the same ship and headed up to places we'd never been before, Greenland, Iceland, and all that Atlantic coast of Canada, which was more interesting than I'd expected it to be honest.
And you were teaching bridge whilst you were at sea during the voyages?
Yes, we always say to people, if the ship's moving, we're doing bridge. And so, yes, we would do sea days. I would do beginners lessons at about 9:30. Sally would do intermediate lessons afterwards. We'd have a competition in the afternoon. By the time we finished all that, it's about 5 o'clock. So it's a reasonably full day when we're at sea. But when the ship's in port, we don't do anything unless somebody wants a quiet game in the afternoon.
Whilst sailing the seas teaching bridge, you must have met some very interesting people. How about a few examples?
It's such a variety. That's always what's interesting. We met one day a colonel in the United States Air Force who flew spy planes over Russia. And having been ex-Air Force, I was interested, but he said nothing. We had a lord and lady from the UK. He was a cabinet minister. I won't name names. Charming people. But I did have to say to them that, nice though they were, they're probably the worst bridge players I'd ever come across. But they took it fine. I had a lady from Spain who, my first question usually, has everybody here seen a pack of cards? And she's the only one who's ever said, no, I've never seen a pack of cards. My father was a minister, wouldn't allow them in the house. I said, okay, well, we'll try and get you up to speed anyway. Then I found out English was her third language, so that was challenging, but we got there in the end. I don't know how good she was, but she seemed to enjoy it. Another one that I recall was only early this year. We were on a ship taking, part of our job sometimes is to take singles for dinner. So we'd have a table for 10 people, mainly ladies travelling alone. And this lady turned out to be, she had been an actress. She was in the movie Some Like It Hot. You remember Marilyn Monroe
Yes.
and Jack Lemmon and
Yes.
Tony Curtis?
Yes.
And she is actually the lady who had her hand on Marilyn Monroe's bum to lift her onto the top berth. And so I shook her hand and I haven't washed it since. So, yeah, you never know who you're going to meet.
Now, I'm going to take you back a few years to that dreadful time when we had COVID. And COVID probably, well, I'm pretty sure it would have impacted your travel activities as it did everyone worldwide. Were you at sea at the time?
We were. We had planned 6 months away. We had gone up, first of all, we went up to the Gold Coast to play in a big bridge competition there with about 2,000 people in the convention centre at any time. Then I went to see my hero Queen at the football stadium with Adam Lambert, Freddie of course wasn't there. The next morning we were on a plane to Buenos Aires to pick up a ship. And then by the time we got on the ship, they were starting to take temperatures, but that was all. And then as we headed north, it was getting more serious. You could tell from the news broadcast that we weren't going to get that ship across the Atlantic to the west coast of Africa. If I was managing a cruise line, I wouldn't be taking expensive fare-paying passengers to West Africa. Lovely place, but if you've got to find all those aircraft to get them home and their luggage and what have you. So we kind of knew something would happen. And then the captain came on as we approached Rio and said, we are terminating the cruise tomorrow. For those who booked their airline through us, we are trying to get seats back to the US. For those who made their own arrangements, good luck. And that was it. That was it. And Air New Zealand had stopped flying by then. I still remember walking off the ship at about 4 o'clock in the morning with our luggage and getting a taxi to the airport, and we got to Dubai, and once we were there we were on the main airline route. So we got home from there, and as we pulled up outside our house in Hampton, there were boxes of groceries and cartons of wine, and all friends and family had all looked after us. So
that's fabulous.
So we then started playing online.
Yeah.
As most people did.
A lot of people did. I did that at the same time.
But
yes.
our great year, we had another 3 or 4 months planned after that to go up to, we were going up into Russia, up in the Arctic Circle. We were going to see all the relatives in the UK, because there is an English accent here if you hadn't picked it. It was the end. Like a lot of people have got the same stories.
Now, Geoff, I've never been on a large cruise ship. I've been on a river cruise from Budapest to Amsterdam, and I've sailed the Greek islands on a yacht, but never a large cruise ship. In your years of cruising, have you found behaviour and dress standards have changed since there are now so many people cruising, which was once a pastime for the few who could afford to travel in luxury?
Yes, things have changed, not for the better in my opinion. The dress standards, Our first few cruises were on the Queen Mary, where standards were high. Now it's no different to walking through a supermarket. You know, there's a lot of people out there and dinner with their caps on and jeans, and what I wouldn't have thought was the right. I mean, part of cruising is the dressing up. I know people say, "Oh, I wouldn't go on a ship where you had to get dressed," but that's what it was.
That's what it's all about.
Historically, that's
Yes.
what it's been about.
Yes, yes.
And on this last ship, there were people there. You're sitting at breakfast. I'm going through my notes, ready for my lesson or whatever. And there's people with their phones on speakers, talking to their grandkids, and hoo-hoo, aren't they wonderful? And but I don't know that that's much different to anywhere else, is it?
Well, I know that the former president of GDR, both he and his wife, are very keen on cruising. They send us back a lot of photographs, and Ian is dressed immaculately, as is his wife,
Excellent.
and they really take on the cruising in a tip-top way, and they always look fabulous.
Some shipping lines, they've all got different standards. The ones we tend to go on are, the dress standard is country club, which is is not what it sounds as if you're
Yes.
president or ex-president. That's good to hear.
Where to next, Geoff, for you and Sally? Another cruise plan. Where are you going next?
We always say when we get back, that's it, that's the last one.
And you've been saying this for how many years?
4 or 5. And we said it after last year, was it? Never going over the equator again. It's the flights that are the hard bits. So where did we finish up? In Reykjavik, in Iceland. So is there another one? Well, the list has just come out with about 150 cruises on it from our agent. And yes, we put our hand up for a couple. Across to Tahiti again, back to New Zealand, Sydney, around the south coast of Australia and up to Bali, 36 days.
And when will you be doing that?
March.
March of next year.
Yes, on a very nice ship where they'll send us airline tickets and good things like that.
Lovely. Well, Geoff, thank you so
That
very much.
that will be the last one.
That will be the... Oh, yes. We've heard that before, haven't we? Geoff, thank you so very much for coming into GDR Studios today to tell us about your wonderful, yet sometimes frustrating trips with your bridge at sea. And I guarantee that you must be a terrific teacher. I know you must be a terrific teacher, and Sally would be a terrific teacher as well, because you are very, very patient. And Geoff has actually said that he will play a game with me. And I'm not a good player, but he said he will play a game with me. Geoff, to finish, the song you have chosen and why?
Okay, the song I've chosen was from Fleetwood Mac. It's Albatross. My teen years were the 70s, 60s and 70s, and so there was an awful lot of loud music, Led Zeppelin and all those guys. And suddenly Fleetwood Mac came out with this most beautiful...
Albatross.
You would have to call it a lilting melody. And why? I don't know. I just love the music. It'll be my funeral song.
Well, I hope that's a long, long, long way off. Geoff, thank you very, very much indeed. It's been great to have you here at the GDR Studios.
It's been a pleasure being here, and I hope people got some interest from some of my stories.
Thank you very much.